Okay, today's going to be very different than we usually do these calls. It's going to be super interactive. So we really want your cameras on and participation. Um, we have with us Al Philip Neri, who is, let me turn the doorbell off. There we go. Al Philip Neri is an expert investor, and he's going to give you a little bit of his background to kind of show you why he can share this information with you and why it makes sense to listen to someone like him when it comes to investing. So, Al, buddy, tell us all about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Al Neri, I'm out of Denver. I think some of you have seen me before, but I've invested in 21 markets, been an agent since 2007. I've hopped around a million different brokerages, so I think I win the national award for non-loyalty to brokerages. Um, and my markets, the majority of my deals are Metro Denver, which is where I live, Detroit, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Birmingham, Alabama. That's the majority of my experience. Now, have I done a bunch of stuff other places? Yes. My two biggest focuses as of right now are obviously my own backyard and then doing a bunch of transitional housing in St. Paul, Minnesota. So those are my two primary focuses, and I'm trying to really, like stay focused because I've got like entrepreneurship ADHD, right? Like I'll go sometimes. So I'm trying to really make that the focus. So, but my claim to fame is I spoke for all the big boy real estate TV shows for 6 years. So traveled all over North America, including Canada, did about 40 events a year, just teaching people the power of real estate, the power of real estate investing after they paid an astronomical price tag to be in those events. So, which also at one point, I mean, I paid my dues financially to learn and grow too. So, I just ended up being, I guess, a product of the seminar industry. And the biggest thing, probably the biggest differentiation with me is I've done a lot of inner city investing, a lot. So a lot of like class D stuff where everybody's like, you are nuts. A little bit, but everybody needs a home. And that was my logic of what I did. So if you haven't been on a class with me before, I am ultra transparent. I'm nuts on a whiteboard. You won't even be able to read anything I'm writing. So make sure you're paying really good attention. And I'm ready to get going whenever you are, Debbie. And I know exactly where I want to start because I want to applaud somebody who emailed me last night. Like I was so impressed. I was like
Well,
so.
go for it, buddy. Do
All
it.
right, all right, cool. So Kimberly is on this call, and Kimberly's out in New York somewhere, and I think she was on a webinar yesterday, I think, and she emailed me prior to this class just saying her client has a deal under contract. But I want to share with you guys a few things because I was like, my God, you've got a bright future. You just have an absolute bright future. So let me pull up her email. And so rule number one, right? I think there's a lack of professionalism in real estate. I really, really do. Okay. But she emailed me this last night, right? Hi, Dr. Al. I'm excited, right? She's fascinated. She told me how old she is, right? Things of that nature. And told me that she only has 30 minutes in and she's got to head out. But she's got a client that has a deal under contract. And I love this, right? 2 bedroom, 1 bath. She knew what the taxes are. This is hilarious, by the way. Low taxes of 5,453. I understand what you mean. It's just because she's on the East Coast, right? That Northeast coast. The tenant's paying 2,400 a month. Basically, Section 8 covers the majority. Tenant has a little pay. Originally, this property was listed at 280, and she got it, and then they reduced it to 209. Sat on the market for 130 days, and she got it under contract for her client at 180. So when people say you can't get good deals off the MLS, ha ha, there you go. 100K less than what they started. 100K less. I tell people this all the time that believe it or not, you can do this more than you think. And it's a numbers game. Her client's going to put 20% down on a conventional loan, no HOA, comps are difficult to find. She'd love to hear my thoughts on this deal and potentially flipping. And then she provided the Zillow link. Okay, so I'm just going to write something down real quick. So all I want to say to Kimberly is like, great job of like professionally like articulating everything and not leaving anything out. Like Do you know how easy it is for me now to run with that and answer her question and solve her need, right? So I just wanted, for being 22 years old, like seriously, good job. Like really, really, really good job. So so really good job of just how to showcase some stuff. So let's jump into here. Okay. So I am not from New York. I've never invested in New York, nor do I know that I would ever invest in New York. Okay, for a multitude of different reasons. But she's there. This is a local client. Okay, so what I like to do, and I'm just going to talk generically on this deal. Okay, so whenever you're going out of state or you're evaluating a market or something like that, and you might not know it, you got to just kind of get the lay of the land, okay, before you start going someplace. So I'm going to act like I'm a complete rookie for whatever reason. I'm interested in, I can't even say Poughkeepsie, New York, or whatever, right? That I'm interested in investing in this market because my brother moved there or something like that, right? So the first step I would do personally is like, where in the world is this? And the reason I'm zooming out is because, like, what's the only place I know in New York? New York City, right? I know Cooperstown because my son played baseball there, Albany, Syracuse, and then you can go up to Buffalo. Okay, but I'm like, okay, where is it? So it's kind of just what Kimberly, how far away from the city is that? Like,
I would say about 2 hours.
2 hours from the city. Okay. So I'm going to come here. Okay. Now, this is always interesting. Decent sized city, small city. What would you guys consider this? So anyone, put
A
it in the
small
chat.
city.
Small city. It's not tiny. I'll show you small cities, right? But here's a couple things. Here's a couple things that just stick out to me like a sore thumb that are kind of positive. Vassar College, Marist College. Okay, those stick out to me as kind of cool things. Now, a Union Street Historic District, well, that's kind of cool, right? So here's her property. Oh, it's close to a tennis club. What does that tell you? Are there tennis clubs in the hood? No. Okay, so probably a pretty decent neighborhood. So then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take a look at it. So this is kind of funny. This was the photo on Zillow, by the way, which I'll show you in a second. But you gotta love this, right? You just gotta love this. For drapes, you just gotta love it. Now, busy street, non-busy street, what would you guys classify this street as? Normal, busy, neighborhood, what would you classify it as? Anyone can talk, anyone can chat. Doesn't have to be just her.
Quiet neighborhood.
Residential.
Residential?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's okay, right? So it's okay. So I might zoom out just a little bit. And I'm just going to take a look. So this fits, right? Does this fit this street? Yeah, it fits this street, right? And then this is where they hide all the dead bodies of New York. Here, okay? Right back here. Oh, and then look at this. Did you expect this? Did you guys expect that? Did you expect like these houses right here?
No, because the ones on the other side were like townhomes, so they seemed smaller in comparison to what's right next or across the street.
Right, you got a bunch of townhomes. You got a big multifamily right here. I did not expect large single family houses here. Okay. So now I'm going to jump over to the Zillow link, which she provided. So 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 1640 square feet. See what I mean? It's the same picture. Now here's what sucks is the pictures are just off the exterior only. There's no interior pictures because this is, remember, it's Section 8 tenanted for $2,400 a month. And ironically, yeah, it's weird. Zillow doesn't even have a Zestimate. Okay. But you know what's crazy is, yeah, it sat on Zillow for 129 days, but look at the view count. I mean, that's not exactly low, and it did have 20 people that liked it. So I would go here, just kind of see if there's anything else on Zillow. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is let me copy and paste this, and I'm going to jump over to Rent-A-Meter. So South Hamilton, 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath. And it really is, I'm just going to leave building type as all. So rentameter.com, it's one of many places you can check rents. This used to be like 100% free, and now like if you check it too much, like they want to charge you. So this is interesting. What was it rented for? Anybody?
24 something.
24 even. And look at the average rent, 2401. Right? And your range is 2,000 to 2,700. Okay. So granted, now Section 8, obviously, because it is rented, Section 8 does their own, market analysis. So they're paying fair market rent. That's what Section 8 is paying. Okay. So let's go here. So now let's get into analyzing the deal. Everyone see the whiteboard? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So we're going to do 2,400, which is the monthly rent. Doesn't really make a difference that it's a combination of self-pay and Section 8. So what's 2,400 times 12? Has somebody already done that? 28.8. Okay, so now we got to subtract taxes, insurance, vacancy, and repairs. Okay, so taxes were, what were they again? 5,000, what was it? 5,400, 55?
Yeah, 5,345.
5,345.
Mhm.
What do you think insurance is going to be on this, Kimberly?
That's a good question. A monthly or yearly?
Annually, yeah,
Oh.
or monthly, and I'll times it by 12. So
I was considering, I was thinking possibly 200 a month.
yeah, that's about right.
So 24.
Yeah, about 2,400. Yeah. Okay, so vacancy. How long has this tenant been there?
They've been there for the past 3 years.
Okay, past 3 years. So, quick question: do you think the tenant wants to leave or stay? Just as a, what would your gut tell you all?
My gut would say that she wants to stay.
Yeah, she probably wants to stay. There's one thing about Section 8 tenants is if they're happy with the place and you have a pretty good relationship, I mean, they'll move in and they'll die in the house. Like I say seriously, like they'll stay forever. So the vacancy, is probably low, but a good rule of thumb is do 10%. So 10% of what number? Of this number. So 10% of this number is what? 2880. Everyone sticking with me?
What does the U stand for again?
It's actually V.
Oh, it's a V.
It's V.
Taxes, insurance,
Vacancy,
vacancy. Okay.
and repairs. Okay. So now this is where this gets really, really tricky. What's the condition of the property? Because you've seen it, obviously, right? You went inside with your clients. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What's the condition of the property?
There are some, the floor does need work because the boards are kind of coming up. There's some cracked boards, but the bathroom is fine. The basement needs work. But
It's
yes.
staying in the basement?
No.
Okay. What's in the basement? Is laundry in the basement?
No, no laundry. There's a walkout where you'd be able to, but other than that, there's no laundry, the boiler, the meter, that's it.
Okay. So when you mean the basement needs work, what kind of work?
As in it's not complete. So it's just rock. You could just, the whole basement is just complete rock.
Okay. What would you do with it? Like, would you try to get a bedroom in there, or what would you?
I think just leave it. At least that's what my client said. He just kind of doesn't want to touch it, but that's kind of the condition how it looks.
Okay. What about the kitchen?
The kitchen, you could use updating. Some things are outdated, but it still works.
Okay. Okay. And then there's no HOA, so she must be responsible for her portion of the roof, the siding, right? Like, so each homeowner can do whatever, correct? So if I wanted a pink roof, I could do a pink roof, correct? Because there's
Yes, that's correct.
okay. Okay. So this is where this gets really, really tricky, my friends. Okay. On a fully remodeled house, the formula would be, okay, people will tell you, oh, you can take 10% and allocate it every year to AKA deferred maintenance. Okay. The things that are going to come up. And this is like, to me, this is like low. I mean, even on a fully remodeled house, I still think you're making a mistake. Okay. Only doing 10%. I really, really do. Because on an aggregate average in 2 years now, you have less than $6,000. Well, $6,000 doesn't go very far if you have a tenant move out or something like that, and you got to do a bunch of work. So I think you're better served using a 20% formula. Okay, just to be safe. So that would be 2880 times 2. So that's now 5760. Okay, so this is my recommendation, right? Is you use a 20% repair allocation. But the problem that Kimberly's client needs to evaluate is if and when this tenant leaves, he's probably going to have to do a full remodel. Does everybody agree with me? Right? He's probably going to have to come back in and do a full remodel. So in the event the tenant left a year from now, right? Let's just say, even if I mean, let's just say he's going to put anywhere between like 30K and 50K, right? We'll just say as an aggregate average, depending on what he's going to do. Where is this money coming from in the event the tenant leaves and he's got to do a remodel? This is something you have to consider when you're doing like cash flowing assets, because what happened, private money lending, yeah. Because what happens is that this is where people get stuck, and this is where landlords turn into distressed sellers. This is an exact scenario. Is they were okay, but they were running their numbers pretty slim on no vacancy, no repairs. So that a lot of stuff has kind of gone by the wayside. They're kind of making some cash flow, and all of a sudden the tenant moves in and they realize that it's kind of an unrentable property now. And to bring it up to market standards, they got to dump a ton of money in. Well, now they don't have this money. Because you got to understand, not all landlords are AKA real estate investors or have the mindset of a real estate investor. There's a lot of landlords that I call AKA like mom and pop style investors. And I'll just give you one scenario. There's many, but there's two individuals. They live in their own place. They fall in love and they decide they're going to move into place A and they're going to rent place B, right? They're going to build their financial legacy. Well, that doesn't really make them a professional real estate investor or understand a lot of stuff. So any little thing that goes wrong, all of a sudden they end up being a distressed seller, believe it or not. That's why a lot of big wholesalers and stuff like that will market absentee owners, out of state, high equity, things of that nature, just because they get to the point that they just don't want to deal with something, right? So this is one thing. You don't need to necessarily mention this to your client, Kimberly, but this is just for your own information. So now let's just do some quick math here. So if we have 28,800 minus 5345 minus 2400 minus 2880 minus 5760, I come with a net of 12,415. This net number right here is what's called a net operating income number. You're going to see the acronym NOI. Now, what you do is you divide it by the purchase price, which in this case was 180K. Yes, Dolores, we'll figure it out. So 12,415 divided by 180,000 multiplied by 100. So now we got a percentage of 6.89. And that's a cap rate. So AKA a capitalization rate. Okay. You'll see this. So when you're looking at like multifamilies, you're on LoopNet, whatever, you'll see that people will advertise a cap rate. Now, The difference is you gotta make sure that you're not looking at a pro forma cap rate. So what's a pro forma? Just so we're all using the same language. What's the difference between actual and pro forma? Anybody know? Michael, you got tons of units. Can you answer? You're super experienced. Oh, you're still on mute. Okay, actual
Sorry,
is
he's doing, yeah, it's for anticipated future type of things in the future, you know, pro formas after the fact that it's occupied more.
yeah, and you guys need to be careful. You need to be careful, right? Because people will advertise a deal with pro forma numbers, pro forma rents, pro forma cap rates, and it'll be like, well, rent hasn't been increased in 15 years, right? And then all of a sudden they're like tripling rent. Well, what do you think happens to that tenant if you're tripling rent, right? In 15 years, they're leaving. So you got to be a little careful about pro forma, right? Does this scale properly? So you can actually run actual, and then you can run pro forma. But again, sometimes for pro forma, you got to dump a bunch of money into the building. Okay, so just a raw value, this is a good cap rate. Like this is a good cap rate. 6.89 is a solid cap rate. So now her client, and she had to run, she had to go somewhere. At 180,000 is going to finance 20% down. So what is that? 36,000. Yeah. So 36K down. 144 financed. Are you able to, I know she's driving, but what's the interest rate? Do you know the interest rate on your loan? On your client's loan, I should say. By any chance? I'm just gonna put 7% just for fact. Does somebody have a mortgage calculator up? On a 30-year loan, interest rate of 7%, what the numbers are? If not, I can go to a different screen.
Tell me the numbers again. I can do it quickly.
144,000, 7%.
For 30?
Yeah. We'll assume it's a 30.
You want the payment?
Yeah. Just do
958.
principal and that's principal and interest.
Yeah, no, well, it's just the payment. Yeah, it's principal and interest. Yeah, 958 it should be. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. 958 a month. Okay. So now takes this by 12. And what do we get?
11,496.
11,496. So now let me go to a different color. So we got 12,415. Everyone sticking with me? This is what the net of the property does. But then when we add debt service is going to be 11,004. Whoa. What happened?
Oh no, did you lose everything?
What the world? Okay. It was 12,415 minus 11,496.
919 profit.
919 profit. Okay. This is a great example. Good or bad real estate deal?
Good.
Good?
Yeah, you're cash flowing the first year. You're positive cash flow the very first year.
Does everybody agree with Debbie? Does anybody have a different opinion? $919 pure profit, 1 year of owning this property.
I think it's too risky in my opinion. I think there's not enough room there. It's anything happens, you're toast.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you calculate the cap rate based on the debt service, I mean, that's a really low cap rate, right?
Well, yeah. So technically cap rate doesn't have debt service, but I see where you're going, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I see where you're going. So remember, you put down 36K. Okay. So now if you divide 919 divided by 36,000 multiplied by 100, your cash on cash return is 2.5%. I would have do the deal.
Do better than that in a money market account.
Yeah, you
Correct.
can get 4% in savings. No work.
Someone's erasing all my stuff. So there's a culprit here. So here's the thing: 2.5% cash on cash return would not excite me. 919 a year cash flow can be negative very, very quickly. Okay, very, 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 very quickly. So I think it's a very risky deal. Yes, 919 a month would be good. Yes, correct. And I mean, all I did was take a number, and you're all getting it, right? So if that tenant moves out, where's the 30, 40, 50 grand coming for? Especially if he's got to do a roof, he's got to do siding, he's got to do this. Now, if you think you have a crystal ball, and sometimes we do, most of the time we don't. But if you think you have a crystal ball and there's something going on that is going to drive mass increase in price of the property, so AKA from 180, it is going to be worth 280 in 2 years, does that now make it more attractive? Would you take your risk, knowing that really the payout comes in 2 years when you could sell it for 100 grand more? But keep in mind, in order to do that, you probably got to remodel it, correct? So the 100 grand more easily could be 50 grand minus commissions, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden you made 10 grand, 15 grand, because you didn't really cash flow from the rental. So Kimberly, you raised your hand.
I did raise my hand. I just had a quick question before I head into the property. If he has the profits to flip the units and he's able to increase the rent, I'm sure that would make a difference, right?
Maybe, but you said there weren't a lot of comps, right? So,
Yeah, there was not.
and then right, so that scares me, right?
Yeah.
So it scares me there's not a lot of comps because you only fix and flip when there's good activity, okay?
Yes.
So the fact that there hasn't been good activity would scare me and would steer me away. The other part of it is, now you gotta, when is the Section 8 tenant lease up, right? How much longer does she have on our current lease? So you got to, AKA give her enough notice. She moves out, put money into the property, and then again try to list it. And then what would you really list it at? Again, I just went 100 grand over, and again, if the remodel ends up being 40, 50 grand, is that really worth it? Is that really worth it? So, Zanab, yeah, I mean, yes, you get the tax benefits, right? You're going to depreciate an asset. So yeah, maybe that's of value to you. Okay. Maybe that's of value to you. And I think here's what I've learned along the way, right? Is if a deal appears to be skinny, when you really get in there, it's ultra skinny. Okay. And this is where a lot of people get into trouble. So one of the things that I'm an advocate of is you never force a deal. Okay, you don't force the deal. You don't try to look for like right now what's happening, like through your questions, which are great, they're great answers, right? What you guys are all doing is we're trying to substantiate a shitty deal. That's what we're trying to do, right? Can we make sense of it? Now, Kimberly, I want you to get the closing, so pick and choose your words. carefully with your client, right? Like, I don't want you to be like, well, this crazy guy on a webinar was like, dude, this is dumb, right? But you know, I mean, I don't know how well you know your client. It sounded like if this was the same guy from yesterday, he's got multiple rentals, so maybe he's experienced and it makes sense for him for whatever reasons, right? But you guys starting out, you, especially if it's your own, I would not recommend you taking down this deal. I just wouldn't. I think there's far superior deals with much better numbers in other markets that are going to yield you a much better cash on cash return, and things of that nature, much less risk, and things of that nature. Now, you know, if you just want to be the person that owns 6,000 rentals in your local market and you're hoping that it's going to work out, you know, you're willing to win some and lose some, that's okay. But I personally would not do this deal. I would not. I personally would not do this deal. Now, if somebody had to erase my whiteboard, whoever you are, is there a number I would do the deal? What about if we propose that? So the NOI, I can't remember I remember the cash flow is 919. We know that, right? Did somebody write down what the NOI was? By any chance? Did anybody write it down?
I think it was around 12,000.
Yeah, it's 12,415.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. 12,415 was the NOI. So let me ask you this. Would this be a good deal at 100K? So at 100K, you would put 20K down. So 919 divided by 20,000 is now 4.5%. What's a money market paying these days?
About that.
About that. Okay. But 100K on your cap rate, 12,415 divided by 100,000. Now your cap rate is 12.4. That's a great number. So at 100K, do you think you'd be buying in an equity position? Like, the scary thing is, you know, that like Kimberly said, there are not a lot of comps. Zillow doesn't even have his estimate. So we don't even really have even a rough barometer to go by of what's this unit really worth, right? But let's just say it was worth 180, right? Now that you've got 80K spread, walking through the door at a 12.4 cap rate and a cash on 4.5, would you now reconsider this deal? Knowing that you got an 80K spread? As
I
you
would.
Yeah. Now this changes the deal a little bit, correct? Now this changes the deal. This still isn't attractive, okay? But whatever. Right, whatever. This is attractive. That's attractive. Now, would you do the deal at 100K if it appraised for 100K? So you didn't have this 80K equity? Would you do the deal?
No.
Right. See, even though the cap rate is good, this is still a little risky, isn't it? Right? This is still a little risky. So, that's just, I mean, it was a great example, actually. It was a really, really good example. So Kimberly, number one, thank you for sharing. Because it was a great teaching example from multitude of avenues. But that's really how you evaluate a cash flow on property. Okay. Now, if I go outside the box for a second, let me go back to this whiteboard and think outside the box. So as you know, I'm doing a bunch of transitional housing stuff, right? So now let's change the scenario just a little bit. And let's just say that you're partnered with some community initiative that will allow you to put 2 people in each bedroom, and each bed pays $850 a month. So you got 4 beds multiplied by $850. what is that? 850 times 4. So we're basically at 3,400 a month. Now let's take that, multiply that by 12. You're at 40,800. Did somebody have all those separate expenses? Whatever the total was, like the 5345 and all that good stuff. What was that number? Does anybody have that? It was like 11 grand or something, right? Does that sound right?
I have it. It was 5345 for taxes, 2400 for insurance, 10% we can see 2880, and then 20% for repairs, 5760.
Okay. And I could bump that up a little bit because now we're at 40 grand versus 28 grand. So that's 16,385. So let's just say, I'm just going to make math really easy. I'm just going to say that expenses are 20,800. Okay. Just to make life simple. So we got a 20K NOI. So now if we take the 20K NOI, divide it by the 180K, what's our cap rate? 180,000. So now we're at 11.1. You guys like that?
Yes.
I like that. Okay. So now on 180,000. So what would the what was the debt service again? It was
11,496.
11,496. Okay. 11,496. So now you guys are great, by the way. 20,000 minus 11,496. So now we're at 8,505 or 8,504. Divide that by 12. Everyone's sticking with me? Is that right? Oh yeah, 708 a month in cash flow. Now, is this more attractive? Now this is more attractive, right? So now all of a sudden we took the same numbers and we just changed the tenant base to where we were increasing the rent by doing a community initiative program. And now all of a sudden we took a deal that we wouldn't do that is now probably more exciting. So, you know, for those of you that have been on some of the other webinars, you know, I'm a huge proponent of transitional housing. If it fits into your heart and your servant mindset, it's also very, very good income. And it's very, very good income once you get the system going. So that was a way to take a property that I wouldn't do and now all of a sudden be like I would do it. So so it's worthwhile. You know, I actually in a brief conversation with Ray last night, I think I was like, maybe we should just do something specific. Like the next webinar would be just on transitional housing, because it's I think it's a mysterious point for a lot of people, and there's a lot of questions. But I think if you guys understood it better, you then could figure out if it was something that was right for you. So maybe we'll set that up. So what questions can I answer on the just the cash flowing stuff? Any questions? No.
Hey, Dr. Phil, I have a question. This is my first webinar. Appreciate y'all for having this. But on the last scenario that you were coming up with, where did y'all get the 11,496 from?
Okay, so that, yep, got it. So basically every property has expenses, correct? Like think of a property having expenses. So a property has taxes, it has insurance, and then you've got to allow some sort of vacancy factor. So the vacancy factor in the industry is 10% of the gross rents. And then you got to allow for some sort of reserve factor. And this is where it gets tricky. Industry standard would tell you to do 10% of gross rents. I think at a minimum, you should do 20% of gross rents. And then if you're also going to have to put in a ton more money, you need to allocate that, right off the bat. Like if you're buying a distressed asset and you got to put 30, 40 grand into it, okay, well, where's that coming from? Right. And if you have debt service on that, well, you got to factor that into your cash flow statement now. So really on the original scenario, when we rent it, because it's rented Section 8 at 2,400 a month right now, is the expenses when we ran it at those numbers, the expenses were that 11,400.
Got
Did
it. Thank you.
that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Yep. Any other questions I can answer? Okay. Before I jump over to fix and flips, does anybody have a deal or anything that you wanna run, or you wanna throw onto the table, and we'll take a look at it?
I have a deal potentially.
Okay. You want to start? Where are you from?
I'm from Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh my God, I did hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of transactions in Birmingham, Alabama. Love it out there. So, are you in the good part or the bad part?
This particular property is in an area is being revitalized.
Okay, give me let's start. Let me share my screen. Been a minute since I've been out to Birmingham, actually. So, all right, let's start with the address. What's the address?
7511 Toulon, Toulon Avenue, Birmingham,
One more time.
TOU,
Like two. Okay, got it.
Toulon Avenue,
Got it.
and that's 35206. Yes.
All right, everyone can see my screen, right? Okay. East Lake's always been popular, though, you know?
Yes.
So it's always been popular. So back in the day, we did a ton of stuff like in Center Point, East Lake, went over into Hoover was pricey, right? But if you could get some
Yes.
area, it was good. Midfield and
Yeah.
you know, that area was rough, though. It was rough, right? Tarrant was rough. Is Tarrant still rough?
Yes.
Tarrant's still rough.
Midfield is rough.
Midfield, Fairfield. What about Fairfield? Is Fairfield still
Rough.
College Hills was rough. It would, I mean, it would, bro. I mean, people don't know hood till they've visited some of these places.
Oh, yes. Very hood.
I'm like, why are you going there? Okay, so this is a okay. So what area? Okay, you said revitalization. What's revitalizing? Like this East Lake area, or what's revitalizing?
Well, they have in that particular area of East Lake, they have built some new properties on some empty lots. So the comps in the area have, it has changed the area. I actually did a flip there in East Lake about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Well, let's pull the map up. Yeah. This is very Birmingham-esque for sure. Okay.
Very.
Very, very, right? This is normal. So this is one thing also, you guys. If you're gonna go outside of your normal market area, you have to understand what's normal in their city. So one of the things is I'm from Denver. Okay. So when I started buying in the South, and I know I say this word weird, but I was fixated on garage. On why there's no garage, right? I'd see a carport and be like, ugh. Because in Denver, a carport means like you're in a mobile home park or something like that, right? And then someone was like, bro, it don't snow out here. Like you're like that's not an issue out here. So they you just got to know the area. So this is actually oh, if you know why I'm laughing, you know why I'm laughing. So this is very normal Birmingham, like to the T. Very, very normal Birmingham. Now, if you had to pick which side of the street you lived on, would you live on this side of the street or would you live on this side of the street? If you had to pick, like if you were going to move into the house, anybody. I have a very strong opinion about this, but I wouldn't want to mow this. Who likes mowing uphill, right? But again, as a rent, it doesn't really make a difference, okay? So let's go in here. I'm gonna pop over to Zillow. My little niece. Okay. So, okay, did you get this from a wholesaler or something, or how'd you get this?
I don't have it as of yet. I have been looking at it. It's an off-market property.
Okay, have you had some dialogue with the homeowner or something like that?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm,
got it.
yes. Mhm.
Okay, so again, 936 square feet, very normal for Birmingham. This is actually a good sized lot, 8,196. It's a good sized lot. So this is what this tells me is this is just kind of very AKA normal Birmingham. Now, this is obviously you're going to have a realtor pull comps and stuff like that. And actually let's talk about this. So as a quick gesture, you can go through and be like, okay, on Zillow, because you're not an agent in this market, let's say, okay, what does Zillow got? 42, 52, 28, 700. But what sticks out to you just if you just looked at these four properties, they're all 2 bedroom, 1 bath, but what sticks out to you just slightly different about the house that you're looking at? Anybody? There's one thing when I'm looking at this that I see that's a little bit different. Any guesses? Size of the property. So these are in the sevens, subject properties in the nines. So really now we're here. Now, if you look at this, this is, this looks cute. This looks cute. I mean, they all kind of look cute, right? So not really sure what this worth. So what are you thinking about doing? Are you thinking about renting this, or what are you thinking about doing?
Renting.
Renting. Okay, cool. All right. So let me go to, what do you think rent is?
I would say for a 2-1 between 875 and 980,
Okay,
maybe
8,
1,000 at the most.
okay, 875, 980. Okay, 1,000 at the most. Are you an agent in Birmingham?
Yes, I am.
Let's see if it lets me do it. 2 bedroom, 1 bath house. Hey, could someone else go on Rent-A-Meter and put that in for me? They're bastards. We used to be able to do like 100 at a time. So 7511 TOULON. Can someone go in and tell me what Rent-A-Meter says the rents are, please? And while someone's doing that, I'm going to jump to something else. So I'm ready.
Al, 961 is average. It goes from 884 to 1038.
What was average?
961.
Okay, so you were pretty spot on. Okay, so I'm gonna come here. What was that zip? Okay, so where I came here, I came to huduser.gov. If you guys don't know this, you should know this. So this gives you all what Section 8 rents are around the country. And there's a lot of actually really, really cool info here, right? So this zip code was 35206. So you can go in here, 35206, highlight it. So now it's a 2 bedroom. Section 8 will give you 1,200. See that? 2 bedroom. Section 8 will give you $1,200. Fair market rent is $961. Okay. Are you open to Section 8?
That was the plan, to go Section 8.
Okay, so let's run some numbers for you. I hope to God my mouse doesn't die. It's got notified. Okay. So let's run some numbers. Let's run some numbers. All right. So we got 1,200 times 12. What we got there, people? 14,400.
14.4.
Now, what are taxes? Do you know?
Taxes probably no more than about 500, 550, 600 at the most.
Let's do 6. Okay, that's a 6, my friends. That's a 6. Okay, insurance.
I would say about 1,200 a year.
Okay, so 100 a month. Okay, we'll put in vacancy, but I'm going to tell you right now, you'll be able to rent it quickly, and you know that, especially Section 8. That's 1440. Repairs. What's it look like in there?
I had a contractor to look at it and probably about 35,000 to get it rent ready.
Bunch of exterior work too.
Um,
You have to do
I
siding and
think
stuff,
it,
or is it that just made up on the inside?
well, some of it is on the inside. It's got original hardwood floors, but it's gonna need new kitchen, like kitchen cabinets, countertops.
Mhm.
I think that may have included a roof, the estimate that I got.
Something has to be added up for that, to be honest. So, for that to be 35K. Okay, that's fine. So, okay. So once it's at 35, this is actually also a good example because 20% of this would be 20, yeah, okay, I was making sure, would be 2880 a year. So that's going to be your formula. So let's use 2880 a year, and I'm going to come back to this number here. Okay. So what does this add up to? 600 plus 1200 is 1800. 1800 plus 1440. So now you're at 6120. Okay. So let's just do raw numbers here. 14400, everyone's sticking with me, minus 6120. We're now at 8280. What's that called? Test question. What's it called? What's this called?
NOI.
NOI. Good job. Okay. NOI. So we're going to take 8280. Now let's do some reverse math here. What do we want the cap rate to be? Let's do reverse engineering here because it's off market. So you're trying to figure out what to offer. What do you want the cap rate to be? What do you want it to be?
Is it anything above 10?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's just be I don't know. Should we see if we can get a 15 cap?
Okay.
Yeah, why not? Right? So we're going to see if we can get a 15 cap. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide it by whatever you want that cap rate to be. Okay. And I come up with a value of $55,000. Isn't that amazing? Because if you had to guess, what do you think this property fixed up is worth? Just going off of those few Zillow comps. Do you think 55 is probably an average fair number somewhere
Didn't
around?
Zillow say 56 in there?
Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah. Yeah. So 55. But now we got to account for the 35. So what is your offer going to be at? See the math I did there? Everyone sticking with me? So if she pays 20K for it, puts 35 into it, she's going to have a property worth 55. She's going to end up having a 15% cap rate on a Section 8 rental. Good or bad deal?
Good, but I'm scared
Yes.
now.
There's no equity in it. I mean, if it's worth 55K.
Yeah, there's no equity, but this is this is a good deal all day long, right? But okay, so you want equity, right? But hold on, here's a second. Let me jump back here. Let me jump back here for 2 seconds. Let me jump over here to Zillow. So this has it as 57,000, but if it was fixed up, do you think
It
she
was
might be on a 70K if she chose to sell it? Maybe not, because it's on a hill, right? But Yeah, I get where you're going, right? So would she rather be all in for like 45K? Would that be safer?
Yeah.
Yeah, be safer. Okay, so offer 10K. Where are you at with this homeowner? So is it vacant or what's the deal?
It's vacant, but he is trying to offer 40,000, and I'm just not in agreement with that at all. Um, I think there was one property that sold across the street from it, and it sold for about 130.
Okay.
But it was a bit bigger. The square footage was, larger. So
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know that that house would ever be worth 130 in Birmingham, right? In
right,
all fairness, right? I mean, I'd be comfortable with it being worth somewhere between like 55, 70K, something like that on the top side of that 70K, right? But these are heavily predominantly older people that have lived there forever or a ton of absentee landlords, right? That, like back in the day, we were buying in Birmingham probably for actually probably somewhere between like 10 and 20, 10 and 20,
hmm,
something like that. That's probably the average price we were paying. But to get them rent ready, we were spending like anywhere between like 12 and 15. It was probably our average numbers. We were trying to be all into an asset for like 30 was the goal. And rent at that point was like 750 on those numbers. But then what we were doing is we were turning around and selling them to hedge funds. So then we would try to exit out at, I know this is going to sound crazy, but we were trying to exit out at like 35, 37, 38, 40. And you might be like, dang,
oh wow,
that's not a lot of money. Well, it is when these dudes are buying 100 houses a month,
mm,
right?
wow,
And you're like the McDonald's. Does that make sense? Like you're just like,
right,
turn it, 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 turn it. Because, all of a sudden it wasn't like price per house. It was the volume of deals. Because what these guys are doing is they were backdooring them, selling them on stage. This is literally what the model was.
mm,
They were going on stage, going to the seminars, going to the places that I would speak. They would send people to an event with me for 3 days. They'd then send them to like a Vegas sizzle fest, and like the speaker would be Damon John or somebody like that, right? Somebody super sexy, right? And then they would be like, "Oh, we got deals for you." And you know what? They'd be selling these houses for
wow,
like 60 grand, right? And I'm like,
wow,
oh my God, like, this is nuts. So it's funny because all the students would always be like, what should we expect in Vegas? And I'd be like, just say no. Just say no. I'm like, oh my God, like these, oh my, it was a nutty model. They made so much money, it was sickening. It was sickening how much money they made. But what happens is they were basically selling properties for more than what they were really worth, and then they kind of structured the financing for people. And so it
wow,
was, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a crazy model, man. It was a crazy model. But that's what happens when you have $100 million, $200 million, $500 million to
hmm,
play the game with. You write the rules, and I keep saying that all the time. The dudes with the biggest checkbooks write the rules, and it just is. It's the way it is. So I would in the class, I would show people how to do this on their own, right, and be all into a property for like 30K. But then I would also say, okay, if you're in California and you've never remodeled a house, what makes you think you can be successful going down to Birmingham, Alabama, and remodel?
mm,
Right? You've never done it before. Right? You've never done it before. Maybe you are better off paying 55, 60,000 for a house that is going to cash flow, and you've alleviated the headache of the renovation. Because,
mm,
remember we were talking about those bad areas in Birmingham?
yes,
Oh yeah, there's
hmm,
contractors that pop up from those bad areas. Like here's a hood,
right,
right? You'll put appliances in.
oh yeah,
Dudes from the hood will come and steal your stuff.
yep,
They'll take it, and then they'll
yep,
call you and they'll ask you if you want to rebuy it back.
yep.
Seriously.
Oh, I know. I've had that. Well, not with stealing appliances, but I've had some break-ins on some properties that we were renovating. So yeah.
Nuttiest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, you want me to buy back the appliances you stole? And they were like, yeah, we'll even deliver them for you.
Awful.
Hmm. awful, but it's just the game, right? It's the game you play down there. So yeah. So anyway, that was a great example, by the way. So I think you offer the guy 10K.
Okay.
He ain't gonna get 40.
No,
Now the other
that's why.
thing I would tell you is if this is your model, I know that's not the only house in Birmingham, Alabama,
Oh no. Mm-mm.
right? That you can go out and do this. I mean, my preference would be that you buy a house not on that hill, but whatever. I mean, again, that's just again, you think like you're gonna put an elderly person in there, they can't mow that,
Mhm.
right? Like you know what I mean? Like but I do like that it's 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and it has almost 1,000 square feet, which means the bedrooms are bigger, living room's bigger, right? It's a more spacious place, which means you rent it fast. So I do like
Okay.
that, right? I do like that. Depending on the configuration, you might even be able to get a 3rd bedroom in there. I don't know. You might, right? It might end up being a 3-1 or something. But so I do like a lot of things. I love your market. Like I love
It's a good.
oh yeah, I
It's a
love
good market to invest in.
oh it's a
It
great
is.
it's a great
Mm-hmm.
great people, great food. Like seriously, like yeah, yeah. Like I love Birmingham, Alabama. Love it. Love it. I just like Alabama in general, actually. So yeah, I really, really like it. So all right, what else can I answer for you? How long do we do what time are we supposed to be done? Are we supposed to be done? Did I go over?
I got one. I got one.
Yes, sir. Neil.
I got one that I've been looking at. It's in South Carolina, 14 and 16 Green Acres Circle, 29692.
Green Acres Circle. Um what city in South Carolina?
War shows
So WAR.
where
Oh, okay.
E.
Okay, I got it. I found it. I found it.
So I wanted to buy this. Like I said, this is my first time investing, and I wanted to buy and hold strategy.
Are you from here?
Yeah, I'm from South Carolina,
Okay. So
Chester.
is this close to you?
Yeah, it's like an hour and 30 minutes away.
Okay. So in the South, everybody, that's close. Because that don't sound close to me, but I got you. Okay. So north of Greenwood. Okay. I'm just trying to get my bearings. Okay. Oh, okay. So under Greenville. These were hot areas too, right? Just back in the day. I don't know if they're still hot, but Spartanburg and Greenville were really, really hot areas. Really, really hot areas. So I've done some stuff in Augusta. Okay, Columbia. All right, got it. And where are you from?
Chester, South Carolina.
Chester.
It's close to
I'm just trying to see where you're at, actually. Okay, so you're from a small town. Okay, got it. Okay, so let me ask you this: why isn't there nothing really came up on that property? So, and maybe it was let's
let
see
me
what's going. Yeah,
the address I got is 14.
1416 South. What was it?
No, Green Acres Circle.
And it's a house?
Yeah, it's a duplex.
Okay.
Let me go.
Do you have a link to it or something you can put in the chat real quick that I can click on?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay. These are cute little houses though, huh? Everybody following along with me? These are cute. Little Southern style. That one's really nice. Little brick one. This is cute. I like the front porch here. If you were fix and flipping this one, would you keep the awnings? Everybody please say no. Okay. Take that out. So there's only 5 houses on the market. Okay. Well,
I put it.
did you put it in chat? Okay.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Oh, 14-16. Okay. I see what happened there. Okay, let me jump back in here.
Zillow has it listed as 14 and 16 Green
Yeah.
Acres.
That's what he just sent me. Yeah. Okay. So now I got it. Okay. So 240K. His estimate of 232. Walk into instantly see cash flowing property, no HOA. Duplex offices total 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. So each unit is a 2. Oh, 2-1.
I think it
Okay.
was
So
2-1.
each unit is a 2-1. So is it rented?
Yeah, I think it's already have tenants, 2 tenants in there. I was supposed to talk to a realtor today who I met this past weekend about it.
Okay. Are you an agent or are you just
No,
like
I'm not. No,
okay,
I'm not an agent.
okay, just you're starting out as a investor then basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. Okay. So let me ask you this. What attracted you to this property?
Just it being a cash flowing asset and but if it already having 2 tenants in there already, I don't uh I don't think I would have to go out and find somebody in the first at least 4 to 6 months.
Mhm.
Um, but also it being in South Carolina with it already having 2 tenants in there, I can easily drive back and forth to the property or find somebody in South Carolina to yeah, I could just easily drive back and forth to South Carolina.
Okay. So are you technically in North Carolina then?
I'm like in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Got it. Okay. All right. All right. Uh, do you have rents on it? Do you have numbers on it?
As far as how much
How much
people are,
rent? Yeah,
I
what do
was
they
thinking, yeah, I was thinking the rent was going to be anywhere between $900 to $1,200 a month in that area.
Okay, so that's before you go driving out there, why don't you, the question you need to ask is just ask them for actual financials. Okay. So before you drive out there, just say, hey, um, can I get the actual financials, right, on the property? So what are the rents, what are the taxes, what are the insurance, things of that nature. I mean, at face value, the duplex looks, I mean, it's like a solid looking building, right? It doesn't look like it's falling down. It's in okay shape. Debbie, is this what did the rent come back at?
Yeah, 1168 is the median average.
So, which is Neil basically said 900 to 1200. All right, my friends, you ready? Want to do some math real quick? Let's do some math. So Neil, without getting too personal, do you have money to put skin in the game, or how are you thinking about paying for this?
Yeah, I do have money to put skin in the game. I was thinking anywhere between 10 to 20 K down.
Uh-huh. Okay, so that's
I didn't
gonna,
know I didn't know
yep,
was that gonna be enough or not.
it will not be enough
Okay.
for traditional financing. Okay, so traditional financing typically on a, like if you just went through traditional, you're somewhere between 20% down. You're around 20% down. Okay, but if it doesn't have enough cash flow, that's where it gets really tricky to try to go to like an asset-based lender, because then they want you to make sure you have enough equity in the property and it's going to cash flow significantly and things of that nature. So if that's, I'm more than happy to run the numbers for you, but if that's the number you're playing with, okay, I would recommend you're not looking at $240,000 properties. Okay, go much lower in purchase price, right? Where 10 is hard to play ball with. 20 is okay if the purchase price is cheap enough and some guy likes the market. You know what I mean? And but then you're also not, like, because 1168 times 2 is like 2,300 bucks, give or take. So obviously the gross cash flow might not be the same, but the net might be the same. So actually, let's do that math for you, actually, because then you'll understand on an example better. Okay, so 1168 times 2 times 12. What? Someone do the math for me, please. Everyone sticking with me? And if you're confused, just speak up. So 1168 times 2 times 12. What do we got?
28,032.
28,032. Okay. All right, Neil. So now, what do you think the taxes are on this duplex? And maybe they were on Zillow. Let me look.
Let me go back. I think it was four. I got anywhere between like 400 a month.
A month? Okay, so $4,800 a year for taxes?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it says on for South Carolina.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. 4,800. What do you think insurance is going to be?
I would say around 120 a month.
Okay. Does this get hit by any natural weather stuff?
No,
Okay.
no, it's no water on that.
No weirdness out there. Okay. So that's 1440. Okay. Vacancy. We've got our standard 2,800, we'll say. Okay, repairs. Let's get opinion of the class here. We know it's rented. What did you guys think? You think it's okay? It's good to go for right now, or what do you guys all think just from those quick pictures we looked at on Zillow? Are we okay taking 20% of 28,032 just for right now? What do
It
you
looks
guys
pretty
think?
good.
Looks pretty good to me. So that's going to be basically 5606 or something, right? Okay, so what does this add up to? 4,800 plus 4,800 plus 1440 plus 2,800 plus 5606. Okay, so we got 14,646 as expenses. So 28,032 minus 14,646. Now I should say this, obviously, are there spreadsheets that can do all this math? Of course. But you guys would never learn this if I just pulled up a spreadsheet, right? So my recommendation is you do real math until you really get comfortable with stuff. And then of course you can build a spreadsheet. There's a million free spreadsheets, and then you can just start plugging in numbers and it'll just spit everything out for you. But it's kind of like old school, like old school elementary school math, right? Like it's one of those things that the more you know the formula backwards and forwards, the faster you'll move. Okay, so this is the net, 13,386. So the asking price was what, 240? Was that what it was? Yeah, 240K. So at 240K, which is their ask, 13,386 divided by 240,000, we get a cap rate of 5.5%. So what do we want as a cap rate? Are we okay with that? Do we want cheaper or a higher cap rate, cheaper property price? What do you guys want?
Higher.
You tell me. Higher cap rate? Okay, what kind of cap do you want?
Higher.
Higher? Okay.
Needs to be around 9 at least.
9? Okay. So we're going to shoot for a 9 cap. So let's do 13,386 divided by 0.09. So for a 9 cap, you need to offer 148K.
I ain't gonna have
Might not happen, right? But at that point, that'd be a pretty good deal, right? But let me go where I was going with you, Neil. Okay, so at 240,000 at 20% down, you would need 48K. Okay, at 148,000 at 20% down, you would basically need 30K. Okay, so I think you're playing. So obviously at 100K, you would need 20K down, right? which is going to obviously change all these, right? It's going to increase the cap rate. But I think on this deal, you're too far off on where you're at, where you can currently play the game, and where the price of the property is at. Okay. So my suggestion to you is, if you could, I would probably make your line here and look at stuff that's less than 100 grand and then run some numbers. And I think you'll have a better trajectory of being successful right off the bat.
Got it. Appreciate, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, the thing with even private money, asset-based lenders, right? Whatever you want to call them, whatever they want to label themselves at, is, they still want to see, good equity or, good cash flows. So for example, like I've got a guy in my network that I think I referenced him yesterday, right? He loves Ohio, right? He loves Ohio and he really likes Columbus, but Columbus is a little overpriced. But, if you brought him something in Dayton or Cleveland where, property was worth 90, you could get it for 65, and it's already remodeled. You got it on, it's weird. He hates Section 8 rent, but I'm like, some of these neighborhoods, that's the way you want to go, bro. But where it was cash flowing, like for example, like he would then look at that deal, right? Because the deal already has enough of an equity split, like 25,000 in the deal. So all of a sudden he feels like he's a little protected. So then if you were like, well, I've also got 20K in reserves in case something happened, like there's guys that'll fund that stuff, right? There are guys that'll fund that stuff. So I think you're better served. And I'm trying to just go off the top of my head, like what would be the cheapest market close to Charlotte? I'm trying to think for a second.
Probably would be Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Okay, very
It's like,
familiar. Yeah.
yeah, it's like 10 minutes from Charlotte.
Yeah. But how cheap is Rock Hill though? Like, well, let's do this. Let's jump on my favorite website. So here's the thing too, like if you're an agent, I just want to point something out, right? If you're an agent, like Zillow is not your enemy, right? I mean, it really has a lot of value, right? So
maybe Chester, maybe my hometown, maybe has the cheapest.
Yeah, we definitely don't want land where all the dead bodies in South Carolina are. So, okay, maybe. So if you had a choice at this house at 75,000 and this one at 95, which one are you going with? Maybe you might be onto something here. You might be onto something here. What let me jump for a second. I'm gonna jump out of this share. What's the county over there?
I'm not York County.
That's the county in Rock Hill, South Carolina?
Yeah.
York County? What was that? Oh, give me a zip real quick. What was the zip of that little house? Does somebody still have it up? 29730. Okay. 29730. So you guys, okay. So there's Section 8 rents right there. So what was that house at? That was at 75K. Okay. So do you see? Okay, this is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 630 square feet. So it might be a little small, but 2-bedroom is paying $16.10. You're much better served looking in here, Neil. Much better served, right? So your next steps, let me tell you what you guys should do here. Okay, so if you're Neil, okay, so I'm talking to Neil, but you might be Neil, is what you want to do is right off the bat is find out get a hold of Section 8, get a hold of Housing Authority, see how many open vouchers they have. Okay. Does that language, does everybody understand what I mean in English? So basically somebody has a Section 8 voucher, but they don't have a house to live in. You want to find out if there's a huge need. Okay. So if Section 8 tells you, yeah, there's a need, we got vouchers. Okay. Your next step is going to be to go just start looking at these properties sub 100K. Okay. Just go look, right? Go look, get an idea, get a lay of your land, right? Just understand what's out there, floor plans, bedrooms, but you already know what Section 8 is going to pay. Okay. When you decide like, okay, now I like it. Okay. Now what you need to do is find somebody. Ideally, it's always better to go with local money than it is national money. Okay. They move quicker, they know the market, you know, like just everybody has their sweet spot. Okay. So if you can find AKA, you know, some local money, I mean, there's guys in Charlotte that will lend in Rock Hill for sure, because it's so close. Okay. And Charlotte obviously has tons of money connections, right? So if you can find some guys within Charlotte, within you know, South Carolina that will lend in Rock Hill, you talk to them, ask them, okay, well, you know, I'd like to buy some rentals, I'm going to rent them Section 8. Again, if they have an opinion about Section 8, well, then he's probably not the lender for you. Okay. But I know you're not going to get 1,600 on a self-pay tenant on that house. There's no way. There's no way you're going to get 1,600 on a self-pay tenant. Actually, does somebody else have Rent-A-Meter that you can put that one address in for me that hasn't already out? It was 330 Green Street, Rock Hill, South Carolina. 2-bedroom, 1-bath.
Hey, Dr. Phillip, when you say self-pay, you're talking about outside of the Section 8?
Yeah, I'm talking about a regular human paying their own bills. That's what right. I know it's funny. I know, right? It's like but if someone can find me that self-pay rent, it's not going to be $1,600. There's no way for a 2-1. So might be maybe 1,100, maybe 1,200. Like, I don't know. If anybody has Rent-A-Meter, you could do that. Because I'm locked out. So
Me too. I used my two.
Yeah, they're bastards, man. So anyway, so you're going to want to find that out, right? What's self-pay versus Section 8. So now get a guy who's willing to play ball with you with Section 8. Okay, then say, okay, what would you be willing to structure the deal like? So now you want to figure out, okay, does he want you to have equity in the property? How much would he want you to have to put down? Right? All that stuff. Now you're having logical conversations with 3 to 5 money guys. Now run your numbers on the properties you've seen. You know what the rent is going to be. You know what self-pay is going to be. You know what Section 8 is going to be. Right? Run the numbers on that formula that I just gave you guys. And you're going to come up with, okay, this would be maybe the best guy for me to use. So then you say, okay, you know, I'd like to do business. Can I get a pre-approval letter so I can go and make an offer on a property? Then you go make an offer on a property, you're good to go. And now you're a landlord, dude. It's how it goes, how it starts. So I would tell you on a 2-bedroom paying $1,600, you just hit the gold mine. Because in Ohio, that's what a 3-bedroom pays, like $1,600, $1,700. That's a good little
What's that address again?
330 Green Court. Or Green Street, sorry, Green Street. 330 Green Street. Did you just open up another computer or something? Yeah, obviously, you know, like this is, but this is, you know, like this is just how you run your numbers and you find your deals and you find your markets. Like this has actually been like fantastic just with some of the deals you guys are bringing. 1328. Okay, so higher than I thought. So 1328 self-pay, Section 8 is 1610. Okay, so about a $300 difference. Okay, $300 difference. I would go Section 8. So now I'm going to give you my trick. This is how you go Section 8. And here is my $1 million trick for y'all. You get the house, you advertise it that you will accept a voucher. Okay? You listening, Neil? Advertise you'll accept a voucher. The people with the vouchers are going to call you. Okay? They're going to call you. You're going to show the property. You're going to figure out who you like. Okay? Then you're going to say, hey, you're the lucky winner. Can you go back to your caseworker and get the process going so this house can be Section 8 approved? it's miraculous how fast the process goes. You'll be approved within a week, bro. Within a week, if you do it that way. If you do it the other way, where you go through housing, you talk to them, you're like, I'd like to get this property approved, blah, 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 blah. You get put on the stupid wait list and inspection. You get the person with the voucher to be an advocate that they want to live in the house. And I don't know what your experience has been with powerful Section 8 tenants that want to live and move houses. They get shit done. And I mean, they get it done because it's in their best interest. Dude, your house will be inspected tomorrow and approved, and you'll be good to go. Now, what's the condition of the house? I call it normal living standards. That's me. I'm not a slumlord, Neil, and I don't advocate for people being slumlords. Okay, I think we have a responsibility to provide safe and habitable housing to people. Okay, smoke detectors, window screens. Windows need to be able to be pulled up without it coming down on a kid's hand. It's really not that big of a deal what the requirements are. So I think the guys that struggle with the requirements are guys who want to be slumlords. Okay. Well, I don't advocate you be a slumlord. Okay. So I don't coach that. So I don't coach that. I don't teach that. So we've never really failed a Section 8 inspection ever. So, but now you're well on your way, my friend, and she'll be moved in a week. You'll get your money direct deposit, and then my only other trick for you is send a handyman through about every 60 days to change out like a heating filter, furnace filter. Just take a look around the property, ask her if anything's leaking, toilets, sinks, that kind of stuff. That's another trick that you just put into your lease so that you got eyes on the property, kind of thing. And you just get a local handyman, little side hustle gig, that's willing to, guy with a little bit of a skill set. He doesn't need a huge construction skill set, but you're just somebody that lives there, could be a retired guy, somebody who does construction for a living, and you're just going to give them a couple bucks to go through and do this. And now you got eyes on the property every 60 days. So there you go, my friend. You're well on your way. Just get out of your head a $240,000 duplex.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And with Section 8, am I able to send, like the handyman around the area beforehand? Or do I have to wait?
No, so like obviously you're going to be AKA a buyer, right? So you're going to get an inspection done, right? And then, you're going to negotiate with the seller to get the repairs done, all that good stuff. You can go to York County Housing Authority. It'll have the list, right? It'll have the full list of what the inspector comes through and does. So you give that to your home inspector when they go to do the inspection, and also tell them to evaluate whether this would meet Section 8 criteria today. If not, negotiate that stuff to be fixed with the seller. And, at the end of the day, try to buy a turnkey asset, especially for your first one, so you're not dealing with construction and stuff like that, right? If this is the path you want to go of cash flow, and get the seller to do what you need to make it Section 8 habitable. And now, by the time you close on it, you're good to go. Advertise it for a voucher. They'll come through. When the inspection comes, you won't have a problem, and you'll be ready to rock and roll, man. That thing will be, dude, you'll be rented within 14 days. I promise you. I promise you. If you do it the way I'm telling you to do it, you'll be rented within 14 days. I promise you. You just nobody thinks about having the tenant as an ally.
Okay.
And by the way, she's gonna say it's her and her 2 kids, and then her man gonna live there. It'll be 63 dogs. Like, just don't freak out. Don't freak out about stuff like that. Like, it's just the way the game goes, man. Like it is what it is, right? Like it is what it is. So just like it's not for everybody, but if you know how to just kind of play the game and laugh the game, you just roll with the flow, man. So, and as you can tell, I mean, I've got a lot of experience with Section 8, and I just go with the flow. So
Yeah, I got it. I appreciate it.
okay, cool. That was great deals. All right, Debbie, I think our time is up, but I definitely appreciate everybody coming. I hope you learned something. I hope I provided you guys some value. And we'll keep doing stuff like this, right? Like just like I said, I think maybe we'll do one on transitional housing specifically because people have had questions about how do you actually find these programs and stuff like that. So, but I hope you know, it's worth your guys' 90 minutes being on the call and you learn something. So I'll let you close it
Yeah.
up, Dick.
Well, Al, excuse me. One of the things that's amazing about Al is he actually has a flip to cash flow workshop that he does. And you have one kicking off next week, right? The week after?
Tuesday, April 8th. So maybe you can
Okay.
send a recording or something, or if they
Yeah,
get all the emails, they can do the recording from yesterday or something like that. We can figure it
yeah,
out.
certainly.
Yeah, yeah.
So Al, why don't you drop your scheduling link or whatever, how they would get in touch with you. If you guys want to work closer with Al, he does have that workshop that's starting on April 8th. And you know, he's such a amazing resource that the value you get from his workshop is unbelievable. So there, he dropped his Calendly scheduling link in the chat for you. So if you want to talk to him about what working with him could look like, please schedule on his calendar and we will get some more meetings. I love the transitional housing discussion. I think that's going to be a great one. We will work on getting some of those things on the calendar. Hopefully you guys are all scheduled to for the newsletter and that's how you found this, or if not, we will also put them in the meetup groups. I know a lot of the investors came from our meetup groups, so we will make sure that that we post these events also in meetup groups. So thank you guys for coming and we'll see you next time.
I appreciate everybody, and good luck to those of you that are crunching out some deals. So go get them. And then Michael, I think we got a Zoom in like 20 minutes, right? So we'll jump on in like 20 minutes. So.
Yeah,
All
can
right,
you,
perfect.
Al, I couldn't find the link. Can you send it to me one more time just in case?
Yeah, I'm just gonna put it in the chat right now. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry, I have a quick question, a couple of follow-up questions. You had talked about reaching out to Section 8. Is there a specific website on how to reach out to, I know there's like affordablehousing.com that I use for Lansing, but also sometimes I feel like you don't get good leads, or sometimes I try to have the tenant apply first, but once you say that, they kind of just go MIA. So what do you suggest?
You mean like having a tenant apply to get on Section 8, or one that's already approved?
No, like someone is already approved. They tell me that they have a voucher, but I still screen them. So I still want to know that they don't have prior evictions. I still want to know that they don't have, that they have good credit, basically.
Oh, okay. Okay. So are you asking my opinion? No, we don't do any of that shit. I mean, it's just they're gonna have terrible credit and they're gonna have evictions.
No, I mean, because I noticed once an evictee, always an evictee.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I prevent that. But in terms of credit score, I'm not asking for 728. Like some 600 maybe might be okay. But I'm wondering, how do I go and where do I go look for the section people with voucher? Like,
okay, so you just advertise, right? Like Section 8 voucher acceptable, right? Like when you put your for rent, does that make sense? When you market the property for rent, you make it very clear that Section 8 vouchers are accepted. They'll come to you. Yeah, you can go to like affordablehousing.org or whatever those sites are, or and there's tons of them, right? But they will come to you, like you put it for rent on Zillow and your top line is Section 8 voucher is okay or accepted. Oh my Lord, trust me, they'll call you. But here's what I'm going to tell you though, right? Is yeah, you're turning them off because of the screening process, right? Because it's not that they have a 600, they have a 400 credit score, right? And so And so, like, and what difference does their credit make? The rent. So this is a serious question. What difference does the credit score make? Because the rent is guaranteed, right? They don't need to show an ability to pay the rent. Now, if they have subsidization, right? Section 8, like, will give $2,000 and they got to give 400. I think at that point it's not about credit, but it's like, where's, like, do you have a job? Like, where's your 400 coming from, right? And like, then I think you can ask some questions. The eviction thing, it's tricky, right? It's tricky because it's just tricky because you again, the rent is guaranteed, so why would you evict them? Because they trashed your house, or like, you got to think through this a little bit, right? Like, like, you're giving some stuff up when you're going with the guarantee of the rent. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I laugh all the time because I've been dealing with this for like 20 years. And I mean, like, you just know, like, they're probably telling you some story that's not even true, right? And you just gotta like roll. Zanip, like, I have a Section 8 tenant in a $950,000 house right now, paying $4,200 a month, Section 8. That's like nuts. That's like absolutely nuts, right? And we now told her she's on a month to month because when I get the pulse, like, the market's going to heat up, we're going to end up moving her out. We'll have to go in and do whatever we got to do, and then I want to put the property back on the market, right, kind of thing. And so but we want the flexibility to kind of be like, hey, 30 days, you got me out, right, kind of thing. She wants to stay there forever because she's in heaven in $1 million house on Section 8 rent. Right. So it's like, but like, I'm like, how in the world did you get a 5-bedroom voucher? Like, I just want to start with that. Like, that's what I asked her. I legitimately asked her. I said, how did you get a 5-bedroom voucher? She was like, oh, well, like, these 2 kids here and this, and well, like, my 2 sons. I'm like, your sons are in their 20s. They're like 26 and 28. She goes, yeah, I just never took them off. It's so like, you just sit there and you're just like, unbelievable, right? But what do you do? You know what I mean? What do? You just gotta smile and like keep going, man. Like, you
Dr.
really,
Phillip,
yeah, you just
are
gotta,
you,
yeah. Go ahead, sir.
I just got a quick question. Does a realtor know about um Section 8, or this is just okay?
Not most of them, no, not unless they're really familiar with it and stuff like that. And again, it's not for everybody, man, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's not like that money guy from Ohio guy. He can't stand Section 8. He's just got a very negative stigma of it. And I mean, dude, I cannot. I mean, like, I've also met and had tenants that are on Section 8 that are the most wonderful people in the world that just at some point needed a help up and then got a little trapped by the system, right? And they take care of the property. They're kind. Just it's all gamuts, man. It's all gamuts, right? Like, people are people. Whether you have good credit, bad credit, a lot of money, no money, people are people. There's good and bad in all kinds. But like, again, if you're not familiar with the hood, like, then just don't buy in the hood, because the hood has different rules, right? The hood rules are different to pro-social America rules. So you just got to know how to play in the hood at that point a little bit, because it's different. It's very different investing in the hood. So if you're not from the hood, you're not comfortable with the hood, then stay out of the hood. So that's kind of my 2 cents, even though the cash on cash is really, really good. But it's just, if you're not comfortable with the demographic and stuff like that, you're not. And then the flip side of that is, there's some, there's poverty like you wouldn't believe in America, that you don't understand really exists in some cities and some places, man. Some of these kids, they don't eat, like, there's sometimes the problem is real. So, again, I look at it, well, if we can provide safe, affordable housing, and kind of help them out. And at least that's one thing that's positive in their life. Then at least we're doing the one thing that's positive in their life. So as much as I like ridicule stuff, right? I talk about the hood and I talk about Section 8 and stuff like that. There's a whole different side too. It's if we can change a kid's future and give them a home, and yeah, they're getting free meals and things of that nature and through this food bank and stuff like that. But if we can also be that person that actually gave them a safe home, like it's not rotten, it's not falling out, right? It's not disgusting and stuff like that. Maybe that's what gets them out of the hood, right? Maybe it gets out, they break the cycle, they get out of the hood, they go to college, they go to trade school, they go to the military, right? They whatever, right? Then the next social media influencer, good for them, right? Like, because not everyone's going to the NFL or the NBA, like newsflash, so it's just like, so I feel like I do my part too, you know what I mean? Like I do my part too. So I can go on and on about my experience in the hood and Section 8 and stuff like that, and I could give you both varieties. But for most people that they're not comfortable with it, they need to know what they're walking into, right? Because yeah, I mean, I've had female tenants that want to fist fight me. I mean, they'll put their, and I'll be like, well, man, you crazy. You might beat your man, but you ain't beating me. I'm like, no, right? And the goddamn pit bull and Rottweiler's trying to kill you, and you're like, oh, I'll shoot your dog. Like, you got this twisted. I'm crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah. But you'll do okay. So you just gotta understand people, understand their circumstances. But there's one rule of thumb in the hood is whoever's crazier wins. That's a rule of the hood. Whoever is perceived the nuttiest wins. So you just got to be crazier than they are. So,
I had a quick question. I'm sorry, another one. So for being in like high cap or high price point area like Seattle, and you want to do a flip, what do you think is a solid like spread that you should always look out for to actually get into it? Because we see homes that are in like 600K, but maybe you can turn them to 750 if you finish. But is that something that you would suggest someone to go into to start off, or should they still just keep it below? Because some people have a rule of below 450,
yeah,
or certain.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't cover my flip formula. But like I said, like the tricky part of your area is like the cost of construction, right? Like what I can do for 80, 90K out here is like 140 in Seattle, right? Like what? You know what I mean? So you got to really make sure your rehab number is right. Yeah, you've got some good ARVs, especially in those nicer areas, because the job market is very good, right? People are getting very good incomes. So if you've got the right house in the right neighborhood, the right ARV, you're subtracting out your costs for buyers agents, all that stuff. You really just don't screw up on your rehab number because that is expensive in Seattle for sure. And then your profit pool. So like in a nutshell, like in Seattle, right? If you can buy for 5 and sell for 8, that's probably the number. You know what I mean, on a fix and flip, especially if you're borrowing money. That's probably your number. You know what I mean? So just raw math, right? Just like I said, I've done flips in Seattle, and it's tricky, but cheaper is Tacoma, right? If you want to make that drive, cheaper is Tacoma. So and there's a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of military buying out there. They're don't get me wrong, there's first-time home buyers in Seattle, right? But they're all paying 700, 800. It's like Denver. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of thing like that. So you definitely don't want to overinflate that ARV, right? Like that you think you can sell this house for 850 and it's really 750, right? Because then you're going to be in a very upside down deal at that point. So but yeah, so because you're an agent, right? You're an agent, correct?
Yes, I'm a real estate broker, but I'm also an investor. So I started off as an investor, and then I became a broker to have time for the kids. But yeah, I understand, and I also have that Section 8, and I have the experience with a duplex, and I have as a private homeowner / small business. It's kind of tough when you have to go into eviction court yourself, and have to deal with like sometimes someone taking over the lease, like subleases taking over. And so that's sometimes why I try to do that screening, just because of that experience that I have.
Yeah, it's, you know,
But now I'm trying to get into the flip so that way the spread is bigger, and maybe I can use the profit from that flip into buying a home in like the Midwest or something.
yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, the benefit of flipping is it gives you that lump sum cash, right? To be able to move you forward. So, you know, and Seattle's a good flip market. I mean, Tacoma's a good flip market. So you're in a good flip market where there's enough home buyers. You just got to make sure you're buying them at the right price, right? Just make sure you're buying them at the right price. So, yeah. So, yeah, well, just, yeah, stay in touch. I gave you my email yesterday, I think, right? So, yeah, or if you want to book a Calendly, you know, we can kind of run through the flip formula for you. We can do that. Yeah, more than happy to. So, but yeah, very familiar with the market, and I did a lot of the TV shows. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So Al and I both have another Zoom to get to. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out and spending so much time with us. And we will see you on the next one.
All right, cool. Thank